Leon Chief Frazier here in Coconut Creek, Florida. Beautiful land down here in front of the police department, City Hall. Here for a purpose. The purpose is to keep the legacy of Queen Mother Amelia Boynton Robinson alive. And number one, to bestow an honor on a police officer here, Michael Leonard, who performed in an extraordinary manner. Just an ordinary person who performed extraordinarily during duty when he captured the shooter of the 17 children in a school here in this area. You know, I am very glad to be able to keep Queen Mother Amelia Boynton Robinson's legacy alive. Because, you know, I heard someone say that if a person dies, and if you keep talking about them, calling their name, teaching their philosophy, teaching their wisdom, then that person lives on through you and other people who will grasp the value of her being. So that's my purpose for being here in this city today. My board gave me approval to come here to bestow this honor upon Officer Michael Leonard, and I am very proud to do it and ready to attend City Hall meeting tonight at 7 o'clock in order to make this presentation.
We're going to call the Coconut Creek City Commission meeting Thursday, November 8, 2018 to order. I want to thank, was it Commissioner Cooley or Commissioner Bellamy's song? Becky song? Thank you for the veterans, for obviously Veterans Day and all the U.S. Armed Forces songs, so thank you for that. I'm going to ask our city clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Soto?
Here.
Here. Commissioner Belvedere? Here. Vice Mayor Welch?
Here.
Mayor Rydell?
Here.
City Manager Blasey? Here. City Attorney Piper? Here.
So we're blessed this evening to have our honor guard here. So I will turn to our honor guard and I ask everyone to please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Ready? Oh! Leg. Hey!
All uniformed personnel, present arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms.
right. Hey! Oh.
Around with a couple items tonight in our presentations. We're actually going to start with item number 2, a presentation recognizing Officer Michael Leonard as a 2018 Amelia Boynton Robinson Legacy Award winner presented by the Village of Hope. We have a special guest that came from very far away to present this. So I will turn to Chairman Leon Frazier. Please come out to the podium. Sir?
I came from Tuskegee, Alabama. And I was watching the television one day, and I saw a very bad thing happen in your area. A very bad guy killed 17 of your beautiful young people. And having been a law enforcement officer 27 years of my life, I fell in love with the police. And I was always in love with my people. And then I fell in love with a woman called Amelia Boynton Robinson. That woman stayed with us until she was 104 years old. But at about 96 years old, I met her. And I learned that she was born in Georgia. And she was born into a society that really did not know how to appreciate black people. But she was blessed to have a mother who was audacious, smart, and no nonsense. And she also was inspired by her father that even in 1920, he built them an 11-room home in Savannah, Georgia, independent. So she learned how to be independent. She went on to become a school teacher and got fired the first time the principal asked the teachers to voice their opinion about his rule. And she told him the truth. And she learned from that she either had to stand up to be a woman or she had to always succumb to the will of others. She went on then to get a job with the federal government, and they sent her to Dallas County, Alabama. Her job was to teach black rural people how to cook, how to sew, and how to clean. Well, she taught them how to cook, how to sew, how to clean, how to vote, how to buy land, and all of the other things that human beings are supposed to do, and didn't sit well with the people of Dallas County. They held her accountable for ruining their way of life. I'm telling you about a woman that was very special, that left behind her legacy that bring me to your city tonight because of an ordinary police officer who had the guts and the gall and the audacity to do extraordinary police work. Mrs. Boynton Robinson and her husband lived in Selma, Alabama. And her husband couldn't withstand the pressure. He went out at a very middle age. But she maintained. Sheriff Jim Clark, one of the most notorious sheriffs of this nation, told her one day to get off of the street and they were standing in front of the courthouse trying to get their right to vote, to register to vote. And Sheriff Jim Clark told her to get off the street and get over there with those other niggas. Mrs. Robinson said, no, I'm going back to my office. Mrs. Robinson had an insurance office and a real estate office. He said, I said, you get off the street. And she said, I'm not going anywhere. He arrested her. If you Google Miss Amelia Boynton Robinson, you will see Sheriff Jim Clark had her jacked up in the back of her clothing, up behind her collar, rushing her down the street to put her into a police car. Put her in the jailhouse. And she went to jail and stayed there for about 2 hours. But she didn't let that stop her. She went on to march across the bridge in 1965. And a state trooper told her, during the second attempt to make that march, to run. And Mrs. Robinson had grown up to believe that she was somebody. And she wasn't about to run in from anybody at any time. And this state trooper cracked her across her back with a long baton. Told her again to run. She defied him. So when he cracked her the next time across the back of her neck, she went unconscious. Somebody told Sheriff Jim Clark that there was a lady over there, and they believed that she was dead. Sheriff Jim Clark said, if there's somebody over there dead, let the buzzers eat them. That man that day rose to the occasion and said, if you don't go get the lady, we burn the town down. So Sheriff Jim Clark, in his weird way, sent a black hearse over to pick her up. I tell you that story about a woman who had the guts and the gall, the audacity to understand that she was somebody. When I met her at 96 years old, I was a police professional. I could not let her go out of this world not understanding that not all law enforcement officers was bad. So on her 96th birthday, I invited the Dallas County Sheriffs that Jim Clark used to run, Alabama State Troopers that beat her down, and all of the law enforcement officers I could find to her home. And when she came out of her bedroom, she walked into her living room with a sea of police officers in there. And I'll never forget the double take she took when she walked around the corner and she did a double take to see what in the world was going on in her home. Police officers gave her a royal escort from her home to the school that we held her birthday celebration. Out of that relationship with Mrs. Robinson was birthed the Village of Hope that is aimed at helping young people realize their worth and to inspire them to be the best that they can be. And since I was determined as a law enforcement person who loved the police, and as a black man in law enforcement who loved her and my people, I decided to do a reconciliation thing from that situation to make sure that she always understood that law enforcement people were okay, except for the ugly. You got bad, good, bad, and ugly in everything. Society, police departments, law firms, and everything else. So Mrs. Robinson granted permission for us to start the Village of Hope. And we give 5 awards per year. One of them is always given to a police officer or law enforcement person. Year before last, it went to the sheriff of Macon County. Last year, it went to Wisconsin, to a young, white, beautiful policewoman who donated a kidney to a 9-year-old boy that she didn't even know, but decided when she saw on Facebook that he needed a kidney, she went to see if she would be a match. Went home to tell her husband that I'm going to give this young boy a kidney. To me, that is extraordinary humanism. And then we were looking at officers for this year, back in August, and I happened to see a tragic happen in your area. And I saw bukus of police officers running around all over the place. People scrambling for life. And then I heard about an officer who, only by the description of the clothing that bad guy wore, had the consciousness and the extraordinary ability to follow hunches and to take that guy down without a shot being fired or even a fight in the situation. That person is Officer Michael Leonard. And I told my board at that time, of all the officers we were considering, that was the most extraordinary situation that I could verify and vouch for in our selections. So they chose you. And they chose you because most of us in law enforcement would have been running to the action. We would have been running to the fight. But that wasn't where the bad guy was. And you ran to the bad guy. Now, I have 3 things for you. Number 1, come on up here with me. We've been hanging out. And thanks for the good dinner that you provided. You're welcome. Okay. First of all, I want to give you a pen from the Village of Hope. And if you're still writing tickets, it's writing very smooth. And You can do it in style. All right. From the Village of Hope to you. All right. Next, next I want to give you a book that your beautiful young children can even benefit from. This is a book that I put together on Mrs. Robinson. And it carries 193 pictures of her legacy. It carries some lifetime stories, and it has some poems in there. And the one that I don't need to ask you to read because you already have control of your mind is Take Back Your Mind. That's when she encourages people to be the best they can be. And you're already doing all right at that. Next from the Board of Village of Hope is a plaque that reads Amelia Boynton Robinson's Legacy Award, the matriarch of the voting rights movement. Because it wasn't long after she was beaten out on that bridge that she was up with President Johnson watching the voting rights bill being signed. Truth matters. And I don't know what has happened to the truth these days. But men like you can help to restore what truth is supposed to represent. Presented to Officer Michael Leonard, Coconut Creek Police Department, for exemplary police work in responding, identifying, and capturing a menace to society on February 14, 2018. This 18th day of August, 2018, the Village of Hope Incorporated, Leon E. Chief Frazier, Chairman.
To make mention that Mr. Frazier came all the way from Alabama to present this award, and I'm honored to accept this. And on behalf of all the men and women of first responders that were there that day and did their part, we all worked as a team. And I just want to dedicate this to them, and I thank Mr. Frazier for taking his time to come and be here with us. And this is my family, by the way. This is my